Welcome back aboard Blurred Force One with your boy Mo, and this is the Supercast. The Supercast, where we talk about all things superhero and our pop culture media, and that's TV shows, movies, video games. We talk about the news, do some speculation, all that good nerdy stuff. And today, this is a very special time because today I am joined by my good friend and someone who has done another podcast with me. The Marvel Infinity Watch rewatch podcast. You haven't seen it yet. Her episode's coming up in I think March. I want to say March, but it is It's Polly co-mixed on Threads, on Instagram, and on Tumblr, which is a thing that I've never used. But you know what? She talks about comics and is the most notorious Reed Richards hater in the multiverse. Polly, how you doing? And welcome on the podcast.
Hi, I'm not Dr. Doom, but my hate for it is rivaled by Doom only. Yeah, that's true.
So thanks for joining me. So, what have you? As I always ask my podcast partner, what have you been up to that's nerdy? I know one of the things.
Well, I've been reading Secret Wars, and then I got back to reading Fantastic Four, which is what I'm doing. I'm doing a reread of of the Fantastic Four from the beginning until the today's date. And
yeah, I was going to say, and also,
yeah.
I was going to say, I know you've been kicking ass in Marvel Rivals.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I've been getting my ass kicked in Marvel Rivals, but close enough. It's close enough. I've been doing fine.
Yeah.
And I watched Craven. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, that was a movie that you definitely watched, and you had some thoughts about. I do remember it.
I do not have thoughts about it.
I mean, you've forgotten about it already.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm still trying. I'm working on it.
Apparently, I am still gonna just be the apologist or whatever for Craven the Hunter. I don't know. It was fine.
Well, it was a movie.
Yeah, it was definitely a movie. I think I said when I was talking to Lottie about it, that to me it's probably about the second or third out of all those movies. It's not offensively bad like Madam Web. It's better than I don't care what anyone says. It's better than Let There Be Carnage. That Let There Be Carnage made me was such a disappointment.
So Venom is your first, and then Craven is the second, and then Madam Web is like
Madam Web's last. Morbius is like I thought Morbius was fine. Like it had its moments, but it was fine. It had a villain problem to me personally.
They all feel to me like generic 2000 something superhero movies.
If they came out around the time that Daredevil and Elektra came out, they'd have been like, they'd have been so great. It's better. I think they're better than like Fantastic Four Part 2, the second one.
Oh,
so like, I mean, I think they would have been.
Well, they're definitely more watchable than Fantastic Four 2015, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I got to revisit that because I've only seen it once.
Don't. I'm not joking.
It
took me 2 tries to watch that movie.
At least
now, like it takes all my energy to forget it.
Well, at least the Reed Richards is less hateable in that one, right? Right?
No,
he's not. Well, you know what? Stick it to your gun.
Yes.
I want to say,
I'm like trying to start working on hating the next Reed Richards they're gonna get, but I'm afraid that they're gonna actually make him nice. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Pedro Pascal is unhateable, so good luck.
Yeah, it's really hard to hate him. I'm gonna try though.
Yeah, very good luck. I don't know. It's really hard to hate him. I think for me, for my nerdy stuff, I've been I finished reading the first New Mutants original graphic novel that led into
hell
the New
yeah.
Mutants series, which, by the way, art is great on that one. I think the art on the New Mutants graphic novel that leads into the series is really good. I enjoyed that. I finished watching Skeleton Crew, Star Wars Skeleton Crew. That was cool.
Yeah.
I've been going through my Daredevil rewatch, so I'm up. I just finished episode 4 of season 2, so saw all the Punishers. And God dang it, John Bernthal had me tearing up. Do you know where he's sitting up on the gravestone and he's having a conversation with Matt, and he basically tells him about his daughter and when he came back from war and all this stuff. And I was like, how dare you make me? Because I've been up to this point, I was like, this dude's a terrifying psychopath. But now I'm just like, no, he's just really, really broken by the murder of his
yeah, but he's still a terrifying psychopath.
He's terrifying, but like in that moment, I was just like, this man gonna have me crying up here. Okay, all right, we're gonna do this. So now Elektra is the next part, and I hear that's not so good. So we'll see. We're gonna see. I'm looking forward to it.
Depends. I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah. Well, I hear people say it's less.
But then again, you liked Craven, so.
Yeah. That is gonna be the byword every time I'm just like, oh, this might be bad. They're like, how dare you? You like Cravens. So anyway, this is the Supercast. We are going to talk about some good superhero movie news or media news. Lots of stuff to cover because it's been a couple weeks since we've been on. So we're going to talk about Benedict Cumberbatch. Where are we going to see him next in the MCU? You have 2 guesses, and the second one's probably the right one. But we're going to talk about that and the potential of a next Doctor Strange project. We get Sinestro in the DCU. They have cast him. Who is he? And should we be excited for this casting? Screen Rant. Could Screen Rant actually do something good for nerds everywhere by getting Brad by getting Brad Winderbaum to look into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agatha all along. Numbers not as good as maybe the internet led us to believe. What's with all of this? All of the cult-like following versus what the actual numbers were, and what did that mean for Marvel TV in the future? Anthony Mackie talking about what it's like to be a Black Captain America and what it means for kids, but also kind of stepping into it, talking about whether or not Captain America should represent America. We're gonna step into it with them because I don't know about you. I'm gonna be like his vibranium shield and keep all the haters away from him. I'm just letting you know. I'm not even gonna bury that lead. Also, since we're talking about people that are in upcoming Marvel projects, we have to talk about Hudson Thames, whatever, however you say his name, having some really stupid words leading up to the premiere of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And boy, it has caused some shit in the nerd space. We don't talk about that for real. And then we are going to review the first couple of episodes of Harley Quinn Season 5 because somebody's got to do it, right? No one's talking about online. We're going to make sure that you guys know whether or not you should be watching that show. So, Polly, you ready to jump into this?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do it. So, some quick bits of news. First, we know that Benedict Cumberbatch is definitely coming back as Doctor Strange. I'm assuming there's still a contract going on or whatever, but I mean, why wouldn't he? He don't have to. You know one thing, Polly. He doesn't have to like hit the gym or anything because he's gonna wear his flowing clothes and everything. He just has to make sure he doesn't get arthritis so he can do whatever that is that he does.
Well, that's pretty easy,
Well, so with that being said, we found out I think a week ago that he's not going to be in Doomsday. He's not going to be in Avengers Doomsday. But he will be in Secret Wars. And with this news, we also find out that that Doctor Strange 3 is in the works, which is interesting because it's been a long time since Doctor Strange 1 came out. In fact,
And Doctor Strange too.
Doctor Strange, well, not Doctor Strange 2. I'm talking about the very first time we saw Doctor Strange.
Well, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken,
we
that
have the second movie.
Was that not 2016? Was it what? Am I wrong? Am I wrong about that?
I'm gonna check because I'm
pretty sure I'm right. It's been.
I remember it was long ago. I don't remember even it being in the theaters because.
I think it was 2016.
2016, yeah.
So you're talking about it's been almost 10 years.
It's almost 10 years
since the first one came out, and Doctor Strange 3 is probably not coming out until after the Avengers Secret Wars.
Doomsday.
Well, not Doomsday. Secret Wars. It could be Doomsday. I'm pretty sure it's after Secret Wars.
Well, to be fair, I don't know what Doomsday is going to be about because maybe is it going to be like leading up to Secret Wars or something like that?
Well, oddly enough, I think you're best equipped to speculate about this because you just finished reading Secret Wars.
Yeah.
And Secret Wars is Secret Wars is what
it feels like it's gonna be something connected to Secret Wars, like something from the Illuminati days. But if that is the case, that Strange technically should be there. Of course, we see how he's gonna be like in Secret Wars if that's gonna adapt the Secret Wars. The second Secret Wars from the comics. What if they go back and adapt the first?
Well,
never think about that.
Well, first they'd have to get the Beyonder, right? They need to get Beyonder and his Disco Fro or something like that. So
they'll get the Beyonders if they're gonna adapt Secret Wars 2015.
Yeah. So, well, here's the thing.
Either way,
I think they'll make something up. Like they don't have to bring the Beyonder in. They don't even have Molecule Man, and Molecule Man is super important to the new Secret Wars.
But they can use Franklin or something.
They don't even have Franklin Richards yet, but we may be getting him in. Yeah, we may be getting him.
If we have him in, you remember he lives like a really long life.
Right.
He's practically immortal, so he can show up. He can show up from the future. He can show up from the past. He's just.
Yeah, I mean, so and then we don't know what Doom's really like. There's a lot we don't know. So, but I do think that Doctor Strange probably is going to be 3 is going to be after Secret Wars, but he is going to be in Secret Wars, right?
Still slightly uncomfortable with the idea of Doom not being Doom, and or like us not knowing whether it's Doom connected to Iron Man or not.
Yeah,
this is frustrating.
I think that they're swinging for the fence on REJ as Doom. I really think that it's because they're kind of scared of doing too much that's too out there, which is kind of weird because y'all are doing the multiverse saga. That's literally so far out there that it's a huge risk. So they're trying to mitigate that. They're trying to mitigate it by bringing him in.
Didn't even develop it enough for Secret Wars to make sense, I guess.
Yeah, I honestly, to in retrospect, I think it's cool they did multiverse, but it's also they really jumped way into it too fast. It's almost the equivalent to me of DC deciding they're going to do Justice League after 2 movies. I'm like,
hey,
y'all didn't get. I don't know why y'all thought y'all got there so fast. That didn't make any sense. But I mean, cool. I mean, good to know that Benedict Cumberbatch is definitely signed on and everything. So we'll look forward to it. I'm sure in about 5 years, if I'm still doing this podcast, we'll talk about Doctor Strange 3, I guess. So moving on to the next one, which is a casting of Sinestro in the DC universe, which is, DC is, they're rolling along, they're steaming along quite well after Creature Commandos. We got Superman coming up. Everyone's real hyped for that. Supergirl just started filming in England, and now this. So the Lanterns, which it actually kind of tells me that Lanterns is really close to filming. It sounds like they're doing pre-production and everything like that. But this, I will confess, I do not know this actor, and I'm not sure probably if you know who this actor
I
is.
just looked him up on IMDb, and I don't know who he
I
is.
don't. Yeah. So,
He
but
was in
look,
some movies. I
I hear
did
he's in
not
this.
watch
I hear
those
he's in the
movies.
show. I hear he's in the show called Banshee. And every time I hear
Yeah.
someone talk about it, it sounds like some kind of crime drama or something like that. But every time I hear someone talk about it, they're like, it's amazing or whatever. Uh,
Yeah,
but
maybe. I don't.
what's Anthony Starr actually is in that show, so Homelander himself.
Mm.
So it's a crime drama or whatever. I think rather than talk about the actor himself or whether or not he's any good, I'm going to assume because James Gunn doesn't cast rando losers, he casts people that have they have a pedigree, right? And
Well,
he
he
connects
also
with them,
always like often casts his friends,
right? Which
which is understandable.
yeah, well, his friends are surprise talented. So, like, even if you think of the least talented of the people that he's hired, and and this is, by the way, I'm not shit talking him because I love him. Dave Bautista, when he was cast, was the least talented actor, but now obviously he's
I'd
amazing.
say he was the least skilled
Yeah,
at
least
that
skill.
point,
Yeah, but
because
when he was
talent
cast,
is either you have it or you don't,
yeah,
and
but
skill is something that you can work in.
I think but as far as like the ability to do the work. He would
Yeah.
had the least pedigree, and yet he's turned out to be great. This guy has a resume, and it sounds great, and he's playing a character that it is to me super important. You get somebody that can really convey, because Sinestro he's an old hand. He's kind of like if you were watching a police drama, he's an old detective that's been at it, and he's like he knows all the ropes, he knows all the tricks, he's very decorated and everything like that, but he's kind of fed up with the rules. You know what I'm saying? He's a little fed up with people slipping through the cracks. He's fed up with corruption. He's just like, and he ends up going too far and has to be expelled, and then he's like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna start my own shit. And he kind of turns into the bad guy that he's been fighting all this time. He is the lantern. Really, in DC, he's the Lantern's lantern before Hal Jordan, right? So the ability to bring that to screen, and I love Sinestro. Like, how much of DC's like Green Lantern are you familiar with?
Oh, not that much, because I've been planning on reading something about lanterns, and I've been putting it off and putting it off, and then other things to cover. But I think that the most important story, lantern connected story for me is Far Sector.
Okay, I haven't
One
read
of
that.
one of my favorite books, and absolutely amazing book with great art, fantastic writing, everything. So I would just be happy if Joe would be in that movie. He probably won't.
Which
I
one
don't
is
know.
that? Because there's a ton of lanterns. Which
Yeah, well, it's the one from Far Sector.
Okay. Yeah, I think for me, Sinestro is when I started reading Green Lantern in the mid 2000s, so that's when Jeff Johns was deep into he resurrected Hal Jordan, brought the Green Lantern cuz they all died. Superboy Prime killed the Green Lantern Corps, and Hal Jordan died because of no, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. That's later on. Green Lantern Corps got basically decimated because Hal Jordan got taken over by Parallax. So he became the embodiment of Parallax and basically killed the Lanterns off. And so he resurrected them, and Sinestro created the Yellow Lanterns, right? That are based on fear, and that starts a whole thing that leads down to like eventually into Darkest Night, where there's the Black Lantern. But Sinestro is a badass. Dude knows he can sling the ring like nobody's business, and he started his own lanterns. So like he's a badass.
Good for him.
Yeah. And then but it because of that it turned into the whole spectrum war basically between the various other lanterns that are based on other emotions. It was really interesting stuff. I'm really excited. I can't wait. I know if they got Sinestro in Lanterns in a TV show, he's gonna show up and he's probably gonna be a Green Lantern. This is before he's turned on them. So
Oh,
I'm very interested in that. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more information about the story, but we'll let you guys know all about that when we get the information. Polly, how did you feel about Marvel's Agents of Shield, the TV show, the 7-season TV show?
Yeah, it was a fun show. I actually was disappointed at the time that it didn't have a lot to do with the MCU. At some point, they started like shifting far away from each other. In the beginning, it was like pretty much the same universe. Uh, it was a fun show. I don't really miss it.
Did you watch it to the end? Because I didn't.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so yeah. I think I tapped out 5th season. What was the season where they were in the far future and they were on like the remnants of
Yeah,
Earth and like I
actually,
just couldn't.
It had like I don't remember exactly, but it had this weird structure where you had half a season and half a season of different issues or something like that. And I kind of there were seasons that I really enjoyed. Like the season where they all were in the virtual reality or something.
Oh yeah, that was
a
okay.
fun one, yeah. And then in the last season they had some time travel stories, which was also great.
Yeah, one day I am definitely going to finish watching the series. There's a lot of people that really enjoyed Agents of Shield, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, it could be, and you're right. They were like, oh, we're connected. You know, some storylines in Agents of Shield were directly related to the fallout of movie, like of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, right? There was a whole season about Shield basically going away, and then Phil Coulson having to basically be Shield because Hydra taken over it. So very cool, very interesting, and a lost opportunity. And probably, I'm not sure if you know why they never were connected. I've talked about it a little bit on the podcast before.
I think that isn't it because it was Joss Whedon's project, and then he left, and everyone just kind of forgot. And there was like some studio issues, and then Netflix took over some shows and stuff like that.
So basically, it comes down to what do you call it? Executive asshole shit.
Disagreement.
And here's a big surprise. The executive asshole in question is Ike Perlmutter. Ike Perlmutter, as you recall, maybe a year and a half ago, was the one that was backing that douchebag that was trying to take over the Disney board because Disney's too woke and shit like that.
Oh.
Ike Perlmutter has a lot of Disney. He doesn't anymore. He sold them off, but he had a lot of Disney shares, and he was at the time. He was the head of Marvel Studios before Disney bought them. Then he was still the head of them underneath the Disney umbrella. And he and Kevin Feige were not gelling. And, you know, Feige almost quit literally because of this guy. And so Bob Iger split Marvel Studios into TV and movies, right?
Oh, yeah.
Marvel Studios was Feige in charge, Ike Perlmutter in charge of TV. And because of that, because Feige was like, fuck that guy, they never tried to keep them. Marvel Studios was like, we're doing our own thing successfully, and they're just, y'all do whatever. We're not helping you.
They're just doing their thing.
Yeah. And so at the beginning, they even got Nick Fury at the beginning of the first episode of Agents of Shield and everything like that. But after that,
nope. Yeah, they had some guest characters. Yeah, for some time.
Remember Jamie Alexander showed up as Sif.
Yeah.
There was some crossover, but basically, the writers on Agents of Shield were never allowed to know what Marvel Studios was actually doing. That's also why the Netflix shows only just sort of talk about what goes on in the wider MCU, because they never knew what the plans were or what was going to happen. They could not incorporate that until after the fact. And of course, if you're doing it after the fact, you're way behind, right? So it's an interesting footnote. But Screen Rant to the rescue. I know you never thought you would hear that phrase said, but Screen Rant to the rescue. Talking to Brad Winderbaum, who is in charge of basically Marvel TV right now. He's the executive in charge of Marvel TV. and he's like, man, I sure would love to get all those ABC shows to like work within the MCU because now that separation doesn't exist anymore. And they've already done that with the Daredevil, the Netflix shows.
Well, kind of done.
Well, they pretty much said it's canon, but because everything that happens within,
I feel like they didn't because they just created a show that technically you have to watch the Netflix show to completely understand it, but it's different, so some things are going to be different. And I think that they have the backstory of the characters. It would be similar, but not exactly the same.
Well, they straight up canonized it. If you got on the Marvel timeline on Disney Plus,
yeah, I've seen that, but are they going to do that? Are they going to change something? I don't know.
They pretty much have said, yeah, it's all that stuff is the good thing is that the Netflix shows never really deviated and did weird things, so they can do that. Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that's a different story. They're doing all sorts of crazy stuff, let's ignore, season 5 forward where they're doing, far future and all sorts of, forget that. Just everything before that. They had Ghost Rider, they had Inhumans, they had S.H.I.E.L.D., they had Phil Coulson's alive somehow, right?
Well, it's explained how he's alive, but then it doesn't really matter because he's doing his own thing.
He's alive because reasons, but Screen Rant was like, well, could we have, I would love to make that happen. They were like, well, actually, we have this little document that tells you all of the places you could do it. And I'm gonna email that to you. And he was like, and Brad Winterbaum was like, I need it. I'm like, all I can say is, don't be playing with don't play with my emotions like this. That is, they be doing this. And I'm like, don't play like this. Because I'm a Canon nerd. Like, I want to know how y'all make this work. Because you can tell, and I know you feel me. Because you read comic books. You really, really read comic books. How many times have you been like, how does that square with this shit that happened like 10 years ago?
Yesterday I was reading The Wedding of Ben Grimm edition, and they invited his aunt, and his aunt for some reason was an old lady. Well, like in the beginning, his aunt came to visit, and she was a young woman.
Yeah.
And it was like a whole plot point that she's a young woman, and everybody expected her to be this old lady.
Right. Or maybe it's
what the hell? And they never addressed it.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
I think Reed did something nasty, like had something to do with Reed. She screwed up the timeline. She became an old lady. Blame Reed.
That's the thing about being a comic book reader. You just like, well, let's just move along. And so I think this is really an issue where like, just tell them to move along. But we've gotten to the point where people are like, they're like, oh, remember this thing happened in this movie and whatever. How's that work here? And so it's hard to also tell people, look, just go with it. Like, because you asking too many questions. Like, stop asking. It's not that important. Let's just move forward.
Don't be like that.
Yeah, but like, they should know better. All of them, these people that work at Marvel Studios know they're us. They're us with like the talent to make stuff. And I'm like, y'all sat there why? Hey, I can't write a screenplay. I can't direct anything. But I do. I've read these things.
I bet I can direct something that would be better than Madam Web or Craven.
I'm gonna, as an aside, I'm gonna give all of those people that worked on Madam Web, even if it was bad, some credit. Like the people that wrote that screenplay are bad at it, but they're better than I am. And the people that directed it aren't that good at it, but they're better than I am. So I'm like, yeah.
Okay. No, I understand what you mean. Yeah, I agree. Actually, yeah, they the least that they did is they took their work, they did something with it, they created something great. That's really, really great.
Just don't do it again.
I respect that. Except like maybe one case, except Rob Liefeld. Not him. Never.
You should listen to it.
Stop drawing, okay?
You should listen to his podcast.
No, he should listen to this.
Well, I think the thing we can take away here is that maybe we'll get something. I'll take this. Just say it's canon, and then bring Daisy Johnson into Marvel continuity.
Oh yeah.
Just bring her. You don't have to bring anybody else. Everybody else can go away, right? But bring.
Well, actually, the way the last few seasons went, they didn't actually share the same timeline. So, and it was time travel, so they could coexist.
Yeah, I mean, the multiverse allows it, but like, just bring her into continuity. That's all I'm saying. Chloe Bennett could use the work.
Secret Wars, bring whoever you want.
Exactly. So anyway, we'll see if Brad Winderbaum does anything with this. But stop playing with us. Don't be suggesting stuff you ain't gonna do. That's all I'm saying. Let's talk about Agatha All Along. I love the show. I'm assuming, you love the show. Lots of people love the show. And if you were on social media, you were like, man, everyone loves this show. Even though, to me, I was just like, does everyone love this show? Because Lottie, he didn't watch it. He hadn't watched it at all. And so I was like, maybe, I'm pretty sure this is not as big as it seems. Well, it seems the numbers seem to bear this out. Last year, there's a lot of, talk about numbers, and things got canceled, like The Acolyte, right? But apparently The Acolyte got streamed for far more minutes, or not far more, but more minutes than Agatha All Along did. And there's other things that got canceled or whatever that got streamed more also. And so the question is about Agatha All Along, and in comparison to Secret Invasion, which is a horrible show. Secret Invasion sucks, but it got streamed more than Agatha All Along. So people are like, well, why was this, such a darling to everything? Why'd they act like it was a success? Why'd they make such a big deal out of it if it got streamed less than, Secret Invasion or The Acolyte? And so before I say what I think, I want to hear, Polly, what do you think about this news?
Honestly, I'm absolutely surprised. I'm not sure I believe it, but maybe I'm still living in my bubble and I'm fine there. But I thought when the show was coming out, I thought that a lot of people who didn't even watch that many Marvel movies were interested, and it seemed that way. Seemed like people who were casual fans were interested, and of course, people who are comic book readers and stuff like that. I am very surprised that it didn't get the attention it deserved.
Well, I mean, I think it did pretty well, all things considered. And I'm not going to dig into the numbers because, like, I'll just take it at them at their word that this is what happened. But I would suggest for people to take a minute and think about what success means. You have to decide what the metrics for success are. And in Hollywood, it's the ability to make money, right? Or the ability to not lose money. Those are two things that can happen. You can, like, Madam Web is a failure critically and by audience standards, but also it lost money. So a straight up failure, right? So what matters in this is budget. Budget is huge. The Acolyte had a huge budget relative to the amount of minutes that were actually viewed of it. So it may have done well, but it still got canceled because it had a big budget. But Agatha All Along didn't have a huge budget. What was it, like 7 episodes? I forget how many episodes. 7, 8 episodes.
I think around that, yeah.
Something like that. I think it was 8. 8 episodes, 30-something minute episodes each. And then the budget was quite low, relative to, especially Secret Invasion had a huge budget, right? And it's a failure for a reason because critically, it did better numbers, sure, but it spent a lot of money to get that. Versus this one, which is, and I'm sure you noticed, was a lot of practical effects, right? They did it was all except for some, external shots to establish things. Mostly it was on a soundstage. They built a whole set, and almost everything that happened in it was wire, practical, or whatever, with small bits of CG to sort of
And it
make the
looked
magic
great.
work, right? And it looked really good, and it was very stylized, but they made use of, and so it kept the budget down. So yes, it's a success. If you think about it, if it got a million or however many less views or whatever than Secret Invasion or than Loki season 2, and Loki season 2 had a lot of VFX. Yeah,
Well,
this is
it
yeah.
does say in comparison. So yeah, you have to choose like what to compare it to.
Yeah, so if like I said, metric for success, if you spend less money and you get near but not at not the same as something that spent 3 or 4 times your budget, you're a winner, right?
There's also another question of how are they actually promoting the shows? Because I don't know, aside from social media posts and just because I'm following the MCU, I don't know how they promote it.
I know I saw a lot of ads on YouTube prior to Agatha All Along and
Yeah,
during
and
Agatha All Along.
I pay for YouTube to avoid
Y'all to
to
not
avoid
watch
seeing
that. Yeah.
ads. Yeah,
It's so
exactly.
they were
And
coming
how
out.
do people find out about that? How do people who let's like think don't live in LA or don't live in America,
Mm-hmm.
how do they find out about it?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I have never we have Disney Plus here, but I've never seen any type of ads anywhere.
Right.
So how are people here supposed to find out about it? And if they can't find out about it, how are they supposed to watch it?
Yeah.
So what do you expect with this kind of promotion?
Yeah. Well, I think their ad campaign was fine. Like I'm almost certain.
I don't know.
I'm almost certain I saw it at least on regular TV or something like that. So, and also you got to remember, at least here in America, Disney owns the ABC network. And obviously they own Disney Channel, but they own the ABC network, and they own ESPN, which is our sports, big sports cable company. And so they're putting that on all of their platforms. So they're definitely like making people know about it.
In
But
America.
yeah, well, and yeah, I'm not sure how it goes elsewhere, but the important thing to know, I think, is you can make small, niche, centered content in the MCU as long as you do it for a good price, right? You don't have to have huge, you don't have to have huge numbers to be successful. You just have to make it reasonable within a reasonable budget. This is, to me, is why I think the Netflix Daredevil was such a great move for Netflix, because they didn't have to spend a ton of money. It's dudes in a suit kicking each other, right? How much CG do you need for that? That's the killer, is the CG. So I still think it was a success. I think what the thing is that people look at numbers in no context. And if you do that,
Yeah.
you can make a great headline that's just like, oh, they're just hyping it up. Like, especially if you're, one of these chuds that like to, cry about wokeness and shit. You'll just be like, see, they were buying, views, or that, it wasn't a success. And I'm like, no, you need context. Like, I understand context is a word y'all don't understand, but things can be successful in a small, with a small audience if they know what they're doing money wise. That's all. So anyway, I love the show. So I still think it's a success.
Absolutely. I think so too.
So, but you guys, I don't know if y'all think that, or whatever, but hopefully y'all enjoyed it, and don't listen to this stuff. It's some of it's clickbait. I'm just saying. And also it's from Collider. Anyway. So moving on, let's talk.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
I want to say more, but like sometimes they're good for stuff, but most of the time not. So we got to talk about some really important stuff here, which is, let's talk about Anthony Mackie. And he is about to be Captain America, obviously, and Captain
he
America.
Is already.
Well, I'm just saying he's returning as Captain America in was it Brave New World, right? Coming out in a couple weeks. Am I right about that? What I can't remember the day it's coming out. I think it's it's February something. I want to say
Oh, it's
14th,
February
but
14.
is it
Yeah.
14th? Oh, happy Valentine's Day to me. I'll go hang out with the captain. Um,
Well, fine choice.
so, but
I think I'm going to do that myself.
yeah, well, I'm going on the 13th because I have to watch it the premiere day on Thursday.
Yeah, I think that if I get the chance, I will go on the 13th. So, well, actually, in Europe, sometimes they release them earlier. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, I mean, either way, we are going to be hanging out with Sam Wilson.
Yeah.
But Anthony Mackie, of course, because they're leading up to it, they're doing the press runs. He is actually, I think, can't remember if he was in Italy for this, but he was talking about what it means to be Captain America as a black man, but and what it means for kids to see a black Captain America. Which, how timely could this be? I'm not saying that
Yeah.
they are fortune tellers at Marvel Studios, because let me just tell you, anti-blackness is always in season, no matter where you are in the world. But in America in particular, there ain't never been a time in the history of this country where anti-blackness was not something that people were not just interested in, but actively seeking. So it just so happens that this movie is coming out right after Trump has been elected. So yeah, that means, of course, that the Chuds are going to be dissecting anything he says. And if he's not just like America's the greatest country that ever existed in the history of the world, they're going to shit talk him. But he was talking, like, before we get to that part, we were going to say that, and I want to read the quote where he says what it means to be playing a black Captain America. He says, I feel like it's just as important for black kids to see a black Captain America as for white kids. Growing up, one of my favorite superheroes was Green. It wasn't about race or anything. It was about him being a good guy and trying to do the right thing. It's very important for kids of all races to be able to watch something and have someone to look up to no matter what they look like. Amen, brother. Preach. As a, I'm in my 40s now, but I grew up and with, superhero media. It's, cartoons, comic books, whatever. And the black heroes were always overshadowed or not very prominent. But I also started reading in the 90s where they were doing a lot more. So Luke Cage was a thing at the time. I know, Night Thrasher from the New New Warriors. The New Warriors was basically Teen Titans, but a lot more diverse. And Milestone Comics had been created around that time by Dwayne McDuffie and some other writers and artists. So yeah, he's right. Seeing black superheroes mattered, but my dad grew up. The only superheroes that were available were Silver Age comics, Golden Age and Silver Age comics, and the only black superhero we knew, from the '60s, really that was mainstream was Black Panther, right? It wasn't until the '70s that they really
And
started.
he was from Africa.
Yeah, and he was African black, so he wasn't.
He kind of like is there in America, but he doesn't have to be.
Yeah, he's not. But and so I get what he's saying. Like, my daughter, she knows that there is, not just Black Panther, but there's Sam Wilson. There's all the, we watched Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. She's got a black girl, black girl magic, that sort of thing. So I agree completely. Now I do want your perspective. People, whether or not they know, you live in Europe. You grew up in Russia, right? And you're currently living in Serbia. Am I correct? Am I correct about that? So your perspective about being, black in another, in Europe is going to be different than my perspective being black in America. But I'm sure,
actually,
I'm sure we got some commonalities.
When you're a kid, it's pretty much the same. You're excited to see someone who looks like you, but you don't get to see them often. And because of the content, like in Russia, because of the content that they were buying, they didn't buy a lot of black movies or black TV shows. So it was really rare. It was mostly background characters, like for a season, or like best friend or something like that. And that was about all you could see. in general, and that's why Storm impressed me so much when I watched the cartoons. So other than that, yeah, it's probably like the Silver Age.
Yeah,
It
so
was. It used to
in
be.
terms of like
Yeah.
representation.
Mm-hmm.
So, but say
So when in the 90s in America, when these characters were showing up, and when people got to read about them in the comics, none of that still existed in Russia, like yet.
right,
At
right.
some point, they brought them in. They diversified the shows and the information and everything, but then it went.
Yeah, then
And I have no idea what's happening now.
I think. What do you think about when he says like that it's important for? I mean, obviously for black kids because representation matters there, so you can know what's possible. But for white kids too, what do you think he meant
Yeah.
by? What do you think he meant by that?
Well, some people need some learning.
I think to show that because that's one thing is I mean, growing up, you even see it now in cosplaying. Like they'll be like, "Well, you can't cosplay as this character because you're not. They're
Mm-hmm.
white, and you're not. You know, you're not white, so you can't cosplay as that." And then you get this weird ass argument, which is it's just a smokescreen and a cover for I don't want colors around me. But they'll be like, "Well, why don't you get your own characters?" Like, and I'm like, "Well, it's interesting that somehow we have to default to creating new characters or creating new mantles that you aren't going to support because you're full of shit. But you're not going to support it. But you also
Yeah,
don't want
but
us.
they're gonna.
Yeah. You don't want us
They're
to be
also
your
gonna
characters too.
steal whatever you create and adapt it
Yeah. Well,
to
the thing
themselves
is that
and make money on it.
Yeah, they won't. Well, the thing is that these fans, they only want the old school characters. Which surprise when white dudes are in charge of the industry, somehow white guys are always the heroes, right? Maybe
Yeah.
one here or there, maybe a token person here or there. So there's a ton of iconic heroes that look just like them, and they only want the original heroes. And if you create new ones to be diverse, it's woke, even though they tell you create your own heroes. So it's just a bunch of big smoke.
Oh, do you remember the story when they jumped on the Dustborn game? There was a game released like recently about by a Norwegian studio, Red Thread Games, and it's one of the studios that they've always been woke. They never hid they never created anything that was not woke, and suddenly this people found somehow about this game, jumped on it, and started complaining that it's woke. Like, come on, guys. They created something that they wanted to create. Exactly what you've been telling them to do. And now you are complaining and you don't want to play it. And for some reason, the game shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
That's exactly the same story.
Because it's not about that. Because if they say, well, create your own spaces, create your own stories, and we do that, then they're like, well, what we really meant was actually don't do any of that stuff. We were just telling you that so you could get out of our space. Because to a lot of these people, comics is their space, and we're only allowed to passively, we can read it and pay for it and all that, but we can't critique or engage with it or somehow do what we're doing right now, which is fuck that is what I say. But also, yeah, we need to be able to have heroes that look like us, not just for us, but so that we don't get more chud grifters and their audience that don't know how to who lack empathy and who are unable to, I don't know, read a story and see themselves in a character even if it doesn't look exactly like them. It'd be like redheaded people's being like, oh, I can't identify with Sue Storm because she's blonde. It's so fucking stupid. I'm just.
I can't identify with Sue Storm because she's married to Reed Richards.
Well, I mean,
what the hell?
I mean, she, for whatever reason, she likes punishment. I don't know what's up with that. But speaking of punishment,
she had options.
The anti-woke brigade, they're on the march. I don't know if you saw the Proud Boys walking marching in Washington D.C., but their online
What?
cousins are out here marching against Sam Wilson being Captain America. To
Yeah.
which I say, die mad about it, you salty bitch. Because he is definitely Captain America. But Anthony Mackie, he kind of stepped in it this week. And the question is, did he step onto a landmine, or did he step into like the path of truth? And I say truth because, well, what did I say? He said that I listened to the whole thing, so I got the context. There's a little video where he's saying that he doesn't think that America should be what Captain America represents. And then he's like about a man with integrity that does what he says he's going to do, that stands for good, so forth. Captain America, right? Everything we know about Captain America that we love. He's like, that's what Captain America should be about. Well, of course, Ben Shapiro, he got on that, and then a bunch of other people. And because as I like to say, the most fragile fucking people on earth are these like right wing white dudes that they want to be super alpha bros that tell it like it is. And
at the same time, they're always offended.
They want to be insulting to everybody that isn't them. They want to just be like, can't you take a joke? They want to be all that. They call everybody else snowflakes. But take 1 second to fucking question their primacy in our culture. Take 1 second to be better than them or be in a position that they think they should be in. Do any of that stuff.
Better than them.
What? Do all that stuff. As soon as you do that, suddenly the snowflakes show up in mass. They're like they come as a blizzard, which is oddly enough very apt considering who they are. But you get what I'm saying? They're the epitome of can dish it out but can't take it, right? So he says this, and I know you're European, so you don't understand. But maybe you do from American media. Maybe you do understand how ridiculously nationalistic to the point of being alarming Americans can be about, yay, America, right? We're the best.
Yeah, that's actually quite obvious. We talk about it all the time.
But I mean, when I say it's alarming, I mean like you have to toe the line. And to which I say, only people that say we're the best forever and ever, and you hate America if you don't say otherwise. If you say otherwise, is people that never really seriously engaged with our history. So as a black man in America, I'll say straight up, I don't love this country. And I say that in the sense that we are constantly doing shit. We have done so since before I was born. This country doesn't love me, doesn't love people like me, right? It tolerates my existence for the time being. There are lots of things about this country I don't love. I love people here. I love parts of where I live or whatever. But as far as, I love America no matter what, no, that's bullshit. That's not a good citizen. That's a dangerous person. And so critiquing, but in America, saying anything against America, for some corners, particularly conservatives, is basically like you're a traitor. Even though when they're not,
you got to roll back. You got to roll back and define America, because you say if you don't love America, like what don't you love? Don't you love the piece of land, which it is? It is a piece of land. The government that is attached to it and the people that are attached to it. That's not necessarily it.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're trying to say, and I understand. I've experienced that. So this is why I don't live where I used to live. But it's not the country that we hate usually, or despise or dislike. It's the system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about it. And is Captain America representing the system? No, he is not, because he goes against the government. He's actually an international superhero. He saves people everywhere. He goes to space and stuff like that. So no, he does not represent the government that is currently in the office.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing is like all that stuff I just said about the conservatives, that they're generally the ones that do that shit. People in the center and right or in the left aren't as interested in that sort of jingoistic bullshit, but they'll be the first ones that as soon as they're not in power, all they do is shit talk about how terrible we are because of liberals or whatever. So they're full of shit. It's just it is a stick to beat their opponents with, right? It's if you don't say the pledge with your hand over your heart, then you're the worst person. But I saw somebody post about this on Threads, and I thought it was relevant. I said something back, and they were just like, no, he's politically, if you're not in power, that doesn't mean that you can just like say you don't love him. I'm like, yeah. If I'm like, Captain America is not representing America, because if Captain America actually represented this country, as I know and understand, as many people know and understand, and as if you've been watching the news in the last week, you can see what the type of America those people want, right? If that's the case, Captain America would be like, he'd be a bootlicker for billionaires, right? He'd hate the environment. He'd hate immigrants. He'd hate anybody that wasn't a white straight person that was Christian. That would be the Captain America. We already got John Walker, so we don't need more of that. And to be fair to John Walker,
we also have
John Walker's,
Isn't that enough for them?
And to be fair to John Walker, he's not even totally like that, right? The ultimate Captain America is like that, right? So I'm saying these guys, they don't, they're trying to get on him about, saying basically Captain America shouldn't represent that. And I'm like, I'm glad he doesn't, because he would be a horrible person that we would never want to be a hero, because he wouldn't be a hero. But Americans really believe that America is a hero in the world stage, and they don't realize we're a villain in many, many ways. And only the fact that they want to bury their heads in the sand about our history and the true facts of what we're doing it's a bit like having an abusive dad, and you just like, nope, dad's the best person in the world. And I'm like, what about all this shit he's done to other people? Or to put it in a better perspective, it's more like he's Tony Soprano. I'm sure Tony Soprano's great to his favorite kids, but to the rest of the world, he's horrible, right? And they really, and you asking the kids like, oh, why do you think your dad's so great? He's literally murdered millions of, he's murdered all these people.
It's like Lorna and Magneto.
Yeah, it's. So he said no. So
and everyone else is wanted Pietro.
Yeah, Magneto is he's a good character, but man, not a great guy.
He's not.
Also, did you see that he sort of walked back a little bit and clarified what he had to say? Because and I was just like, you didn't need to say that, but I get it, because money's on the table, and Disney's was like,
well, at least I think that Marvel has been watching him, and then they missed the other guy.
Yeah,
everyone was handling this.
We're gonna get to that. I wanted to read what he said in response. He said, "This is the sort." Now, listen, this response right here, this clarification, is exactly what I was talking about when it comes to America and Americans, and how much you have to fucking bow down to this nationalistic bullshit. And he says this. He said, "I'm a proud American, and taking on the shield of a hero like Cap is an honor of a lifetime. I have the utmost respect for those who serve and who have served our country." He said, "Cap has universal characters that people all over the world, characteristics, I'm assuming, that people all over the world can relate to." So he had to clarify that for these sensitive ass dudes, and I'm assuming women, because they can't, they can't imagine a world in which Americans are not the heroes, right? Because that's how fucking self-centered we are. and blind we are.
Oh, you have no
No,
idea.
I'm saying how blind we are.
Seriously.
But I'll tell you this straight up: the number of Black Americans you know that will toe that line, really small, and most of them are pygmies. Most of them, they're conservative Black people, but they're mostly pygmies because most of us know and understand what this country is and how it treats us, and so I've challenged you to find a person, a Black person in America that will say, I'm a proud American, but, and then there's some shit, right? So, Anthony Mackie, stand on business. That's all I'm saying. Stand on business. Say it with your chest. I
don't. I think that the whole fact that like America, in America, people do a lot of stuff that probably isn't considered that normal in other countries, or is like, imagine if German people would do that.
I mean, I hope Germans are proud to be from their country. Like, I'm not. The thing is, like, I'm like,
you can be proud to be from a country because that just means that you were born on a specific piece of land to specific people. It's not something that you control.
Yeah.
It's not something that you did. It's just something that happened. It is an accident. Why should one person be proud and the other person should be ashamed?
How about this pride?
That's ridiculous.
Pride,
but it's just weird.
Well, I want to say, as in, like, the people that your community you're from, you're proud to be a part of that community. The history, good and bad. You criticize the bad. You uplift the good, and you try to do better. Yeah, if we would do that here, dope. But there's a lot of hurt feeling. Well, there's a lot of like big feelings that people feel about the fact that there's a lot of terrible history here, and it's tied up to the people's individual, self-worth, right? And I wish they would get away from that. America is a country. It's not good, it's not bad. It's somewhere in between. There's a little bit of both in there, and if we stop cherry picking, that would be great. So anyway, Anthony Mackie, you said nothing wrong, and I'm standing for you. So what does Captain America say in Marvel Rivals when he has his shield out? I'll be that. I'm gonna have the shield out.
I don't remember what he's saying because like every time I play him, I just run around really fast so no one could hit me and yell USA. No kidding.
So I guess now we got to talk about the other Marvel person that stepped into it, and I'm gonna be fair. I'm gonna be fair to this guy. So Hudson Thames or Thames, however you want to call it.
I think it's Thames.
Thames. There we go. Because in England they say Thames, which whatever.
No.
That's how they say the river. But whatever. So he's the guy that voices Peter Parker in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which premiered today. I haven't watched it yet, but by all accounts that I've seen by people whose opinions I trust, it's a good show. So
it is a good show.
And I've been very interested in it. It was originally going to be a MCU related show, but they kind of changed it around. It is, I'm going to assume it's woke. And I mean woke isn't like the way that I think of the word woke, which is good. It's diverse. There's, they're doing new things, different characters of different races and ethnicities and all that stuff. That thing, right? It looked like it from the promo stuff. Hell, we knew that Coleman Domingo was going to be Norman Osborn, and his waves were on point. Like my man's do-rag game must have been on point because his waves are like the Pacific Ocean crashing onto Australia. That being said, our man Hudson, talking to Collider, was basically said that he thought that the show was going to be annoying and woke, but it turned out to be well written.
He was afraid.
He's afraid it was going to be woke.
His greatest fear that was.
So
he was lying awake at night thinking, what if the show is going to be annoying and woke.
It's like, yeah, particularly the woke part. The annoying part is Peter Parker. Peter Parker is by nature annoying. So we know it is going to be annoying.
Well, not as annoying as this guy.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like I said, I am going to be fair to him, even though I dragged his ass, like a lot of people did. Because he literally, there's no context whatsoever to this.
Yeah.
Except what we can infer by usage, right? Because like most people who use the word woke in a bad way, it's a dog whistle and there's an implied meaning behind it. And the implied meaning is, black folk bad. Or in this case, queer people bad, or however you want to get it, right? Diversity bad. He may as well have said, I thought it was going to be full of DEI, but thank the Lord, there's still a white guy in charge, right? That's what it feels like with no context. Now, see, if this had been, I don't know, if this had been Tyrone Magnus, who I don't know if you know who Tyrone Magnus is. He's a black dude on YouTube that does reactions and stuff like that. I used to follow him until he started down this pick me anti-woke bullshit. But if he had said it, I'd have been like, I mean, this Negro here, oh, okay. You doing that shit again where you trying to get the grifter money. This is a guy who doesn't need grifter money, right? And he's still saying the dog whistle word. So I have to assume.
You think he doesn't need it?
Well, I mean,
he's about to be jobless.
I mean, maybe. Maybe
think he just screwed up somewhere and he already got fired.
I think the thing here is, because we haven't heard any response from him, he's been getting added on Threads and I'm assuming Instagram a lot. No context, not really any context, not any clarification, not any of that stuff, but he used it in a certain way, and we have to assume the worst because only the people that are shitty are using it that way. Right? So, okay. All right. So now I said there's a lot of setup. All right. You may proceed with your trashing of Hudson.
Okay, I wasn't gonna actually trash him. Before I trash him, I wanted to say that I personally didn't see anything but this Collider article, which didn't actually provide any context, didn't provide an interview or anything. I heard that there was some video or something, but I didn't see it. So because I think I've seen somebody say that it was unprovoked, like no one asked him about it or anything. He just said it. So he probably just wanted to say it really, really bad. But because before, well, yeah, happens. Before that, I thought that maybe it was taken like, it's weird. The whole appearance of it is weird. And it appeared like the day before the premiere. So many people just lost all the desire to watch it. Today, when I posted about it, because I watched it, in the morning I watched it and I really enjoyed it. And it is really woke. It's like right off the bat, it's dealing with some issues. Like there are at least 2 social issues, like big social issues, 3 maybe. A diverse cast, all of that, and it's a great show. It's really something that would have been well received, like X-Men 97, which makes me remember that like. Can't Marvel have any good animated project, like really great animated project, without some kind of controversy? What's going on there? Like, right. Is there a curse or something? But either way, I don't know what's going on there. Maybe they really had all their marketing team working on Captain America, and like no one was watching this guy. But it looks like something like out of nowhere. I don't understand why he did it. I don't understand why a person would do this knowing that how it would be received. Maybe he didn't know what he was like working on. And why did he say that it wasn't woke? It is woke. Like, did he not watch it? Did he not read the script?
Well, that's a question.
Did he only get his lines? What's wrong with this guy?
I think it's, well, one thing to note is that when it comes to voice acting, how much of the script do you actually have? You know, how much of it?
I don't know. I thought that you have the whole screen
I
like
think,
with things
yeah.
going on, and you narrate as you watch it or something like that.
I don't know how much of it he actually got. So I don't know how much of the story he actually knew and understood. Because he's an actor. He's he only needs his parts and like the surrounding parts. But for voice acting, they generally are not. They're in the booth by themselves, right? That being said,
he can read.
Yeah, it does. I find it interesting, especially.
Maybe he just got like all the information he got is that Spider-Man will be there. He's gonna be white, and he went up there.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that. I don't know how much he had. What I'm saying is, what's interesting to me is from your description of what happens in the episodes. He said, "Oh no, it's not woke. It's actually really well written," which again indicates a bias that against wokeness because of its lack of quality in terms of like storytelling. And that, of course, to me comes straight from the nerdrotics and, yellow flashes of the world who are been beating this drum about woke equals bad writing, right? So people buy into this shit without any real and it's just a conflation, a successful conflation of the two concepts and terms. But also the fact is that he doesn't fucking know what woke is. He can't know what it is because he can't recognize. It's like that question, like if it's in a lineup, like point to the woke in the room, and he can't point to it. He all he can do is point to a black person and be like, "That's the woke. That's the woke right there." But he can't actually identify it because it's a it means everything and nothing at the same time. Everything I don't like is woke, right? But he's saying it's actually really good. It's actually a really well written show. That's woke, motherfucker. You like get the fuck out of here. That's
he was thinking, like, if you don't know the meaning of the word, why would you use it?
Because it's a dog whistle. Look.
Yeah, but you don't even know what it means.
Yeah, it's all it means.
How stupid are you? How old is this guy? Because like I want to.
I figure he's in his 20s, but I look at it this way.
I think like somebody said that he's 30, so
it could be.
Like, I think the gap on stupid 29. You can't be stupid after that. Stupid after 29. No.
I think this is a pretty clear like in group out group thing, right? For us, this is easy. This is real simple. As soon as I saw this, I didn't take no time. I was like, oh, okay, fuck this guy. Because you use it in a bad way. You've already told me everything I need to know about you.
Yeah.
Either you're too stupid or media illiterate to know what's going on, or you do know what's going on and you just want to say the N-word. Which I'm like, cut out the middleman.
Either way,
just say the shit. Because I'm gonna write you off anyway. To me, if you use DEI and woke and shit like that as a pejorative, I know who you are. So I don't need anything else from you except, you know what? I was wrong. I'm going to stop doing that. Okay, cool. We're on the same page. But if you're going to keep using it like that, I know what I need to know about you. So I was like, fuck this guy, right? So I gave him the benefit of the doubt in the sense that at best, he's just using a word that sounds that's popular amongst certain people and doesn't really know what it means. At worst, he's a shitty ass person. Either way, I'm still gonna watch the show. He got
dragged.
Yeah, he got dragged in our corner of the internet.
But
is he getting dragged? Is he getting dragged elsewhere? Like, are there people on social media?
Well, the thing is that people who he was talking to when he said that it's okay, it's not woke, you can watch it. They're gonna watch it and realize, yeah, he put a target on his back. They're gonna watch it and they're gonna realize it's woke.
Yeah. Well, I noticed in the I noticed in the article that the guy who interviewed him that got this, when he said this, he was like, they were like, woke is a loaded term that is often used by racists online, and he didn't provide any context. He just came out and said it. They threw his ass under the bus. They were like, we didn't tell him this. We didn't ask him nothing about wokeness. He just threw this shit out. Like, this shit must really be on his mind.
Can you imagine you sitting like they asking you like, and what other Marvel projects would you be interested in working on?
Anything
I
without the
thought it was
wokeness.
gonna be woke.
Anything without the wokeness, like. And that I just wish they had been like, what do you mean by woke? Like, just explain what you mean by that. I'm not gonna not watch this show. I'm gonna watch it because look, Coleman Domingo's in it. There are many diverse people that are working on it. They shouldn't have to suffer because one dumbass who can be replaced easily said some shit.
And the problem is, first, yes, he can be replaced easily because what he was trying to do is he was trying to imitate the MCU Peter Parker. And a lot of people can do that. He's very replaceable. But the point is why I personally choose to watch it is because despite what he said and despite what kind of person he may or may not be, he can go away. But if we don't support this show, which is actually we might not get anything like that. We might revert to like Cravens and Venoms.
Oh, not Cravens. What? I feel like you're personally, every time you say Craven, you're just like,
okay, Morbius.
There you go.
You feel better? Because Madam Web is woke.
Yes, Madam Web is woke. I like I said, I'm gonna watch this to support, I think it's Jeff Trammell, who is the creator and showrunner, and also the various talent that also worked on this. They shouldn't have to suffer because of one dummy. So
exactly,
I say you guys keep watching it. So, all right, and y'all, you guys watch it and let me know how woke it is and how triggered you were by the woke.
It's very woke.
So,
I was woken by the woke.
You woke it woke you up, but not enough.
No, it woken me.
So that's all of our news. So let's get into this review. We're gonna review Harley Quinn season 5, which is, to me, I want to say the triumphant return of our favorite girlfriends, Harley and Harlivy. That's what they called themselves when they first got together.
That sounds horrible.
It does, which is why it's perfect for them. They make horrible sounding things look cool. So, but I will say this: I was really looking forward to this show. On the heels of Kite Man, which disappointed the fuck out of me. Like, I was super disappointed by Kite Man. Hell yeah.
I didn't watch it.
Well, maybe go watch it. There's some things that are happening in this new season are spinning out of Kite Man. Hell yeah. But Kite Man Hell yeah really disappointed me. It was not bad.
And you liked Craven. So
yeah, Kite Man Hell yeah is better than Craven. I'll give it that. But
what?
I was like, well, I hope this really is so much better, so I can really just like get me back on board of this. Especially given that before this came out, they were talking about that there's another spin-off show that they were going to be creating for the Harley Quinn, side, the Harley Quinn universe, but animated universe. And I'll just have to say, thank God they are back and on form. Cause I was worried with Kite Man Hell yeah. I was like, man, y'all, that wasn't it. But no, at the first 2 episodes of Harley Quinn, I can say they are back and they're on form, and I'm enjoying it. I have some more detailed thoughts, but I wanted to hear what you had to say after watching the first 2.
Well, I watched it a couple days ago, and the thing I like about this show is that it stays the same in quality. Really, it doesn't. The most noticeable thing for me is always the pacing, and it feels like the episodes are long enough, and they're not rushing through storylines. They're not rushing through anything. They're fun and they're enjoyable. So yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, I think. And you noticed, at least I think they are planning to bring back the original crew, except for Dr. Psycho, because, I mean, all right, Dr. Psycho.
Yeah, because they all started, like, moving to Metropolis.
Yeah, so, I mean, we see King Shark comes back with his brood of horrible kids. Um, Bane has moved there, and he's you don't know this from Kite Man. Hell yeah, the that's a storybook princess, and that's what's her name? What's the girl? Goldilocks. So that's the little girl's Goldilocks, and the other one's a fairy tale princess that came out of a book from whatever the villain has a book, and she summons them out of there, and they basically kill people. That's where they're from. So he's found love, and he's got he's taking care of this little girl Goldilocks. Lex Luthor is in jail because of some shit he did, and Kite Man, hell yeah. And then Lena Luthor is now like trying to run Metropolis, and she's in Metropolis. They're in Metropolis and everything. Oh, and also the events at the end of the previous season of Harley Quinn are why that Gotham is all jacked up now, or as I like to say, when they were like, "Oh man, Gotham's crazy since Joker and all the other stuff happened," I was like, "Looks like pretty much normal to Gotham to me." I don't know what y'all are talking about. Gotham.
You could believe in Gotham.
In some ways, Gotham has kind of improved a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
That's exactly what people in Gotham are saying because they can't afford anything.
I was like, well,
they're like, I'm fine.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, well, at least Scarecrow's not poisoning everybody this week. It's just giant rats, which is that's just a big city problem. I don't know what y'all are talking about. So they they decide we need to change the venue. We're gonna go to Metropolis.
They went to because they decided that they were too dull.
Yeah, they were stuck in a rut, which is
fun party. Yeah,
which is crazy to me. Like, there's some underlying, like, I guess, messaging here about how do you keep it fresh? How do you not just get stuck doing the same thing over and over again? Where's the fire in our relationship? That sort of thing is going, which is crazy to me because Harley's a stick of dynamite, and Ivy, for all her sarcastic whatever, is like she's a stick of dynamite too, just in some slightly different ways. They are a great match, and somehow they let the fire dwindle. So moving to Metropolis is a great move, but we also get Ivy's backstory about how she got her powers, and the person that facilitated that. I'm saying that in a nice way to avoid spoilers, and what she's how she responds to all of that. Again, great messaging. That's one thing I love about this show is it's woke as fuck, but like in a way that sneaks it in. It sneaks it in beneath the radar because most of the people that are anti-woke are also pretty media illiterate. They're pretty incapable of parsing shit. So they don't notice when they're being lectured to. They don't notice when someone's being like, "Nah, you are shitty." They don't notice the wokeness because Harley Quinn is just like being crass, and like she's cussing, and like there's all sex jokes and everything, and they're laughing at that, and they're not seeing, oh well, the lesbian couple, right? The lesbian power couple. They're talking about toxic males. They're talking about men taking credit for women's work, right? They're not talking about this is happening because they're like, oh, but Harley's the good, Ivy's the good guy, so fuck that dude. And I'm just like, they're just telling you the same real shit that happened in the real world, like, but because it's capes, they can sort of
but they will never, like, the kind of people that they would never apply it to the real world.
Yeah, it's exposure therapy.
That doesn't work.
To me, I feel like it's exposure.
That doesn't work, I think.
Oh no, that it's he's so obviously a villain that sure. But I enjoyed it a lot. I think these first two episodes are really good. They're back on form. Lena Luthor is interesting, clearly bad, but she's very interesting, right? And they still have Brainiac talking about, oh, I need to fix this, right? So we still got Brainiac coming up. I don't know. I guess why I'm asking is this a worthwhile use of your time, and are you looking forward to the rest of the season?
Of course. I watched all the previous seasons. I enjoyed them, but I mostly binged them because it's way more fun. And yeah, I'm looking forward for the rest.
All right. Well, same. I can't wait. Can't wait to see what's going on with these guys. Especially, I'm looking forward to Clayface coming back. Definitely. Like, the less Clayface they have, the more angered I'm going to be. So let's get it together, y'all. So anyway, that's our kind of review of the first couple episodes of Harley Quinn. You guys go check that out. Report back. We will talk about the other episodes as the weeks go forward. So all that being said, that's everything that we have to talk about on this episode of the Supercast. But you know what? Maybe we missed something. Maybe you agreed with us, disagreed with us. You wanted to tell us how woke we are and that there's bad writing on this show because of all the diversity. You could do that. Do us a favor if you want. If you got some things to say to us, get down there to the comment section, leave your thoughts. And of course, you can always hit me up, supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com, blurred_force1 on Instagram and Threads. And I still have a TikTok for some reason, but it's super_not_funny show.
Do you though? Isn't it banned?
It's not banned, thanks to Trump. It's
banned.
I swear. Well, you know what? As an aside, I'll talk about that in a second. But you guys, while you're showing love on the social media, you can also get down there, hit like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. All that good stuff helps to grow this channel, helps more people to see this podcast and all of the content that we make on Blurred Force One. And of course, I couldn't do this episode by myself. Thankfully, Polly came in and she subbed in and said, I got you, dog. So, Polly, can you tell them where they can reach you on social media?
Yeah. On Threads, on what it is, Instagram, or on let me check. On Threads, on Instagram, on Tumblr, it's core_mix. On Blue Sky, or it's core it's also comics on Blue Sky, and it's on fan base too. So everywhere, I got all the links.
Yeah,
you can find me
everywhere except everywhere except YouTube. So.
Oh yeah.
Not yet. So.
Not yet.
All that being said, this has been episode 169 of the Supercast. Thanks for joining us. Come back next week. We are, of course, going to talk about all of the other developments in superhero media. So that'll be a good time. Until then, I've been Mo, your commentator extraordinaire on all things pop culture, joined by Polly, who is the Reed hater extraordinaire. And we'll see you guys on the other side of the thread. Peace.
See ya.